Good afternoon. Welcome to the Meltdown. Now, folks, I got to tell you, there's a lot of information going on about different markets, different industries, so that people can really get a grasp of what they should be doing and why they should be doing it. I don't want to gloom and doom. That's never been my message. I'm pretty clear about that stuff. It really is more about why we do what we do and what we hope to accomplish by sharing the information. Now, I'm a dealer who ends up owning inventory. That inventory is set up in such a fashion that we can be competitive in all markets. No dealer, not in today's market, is capable of getting 100% of anyone's business. I don't ever assume that when I come to meet with somebody. But the amount of information that you're able to compile and take advantage of is different. And so what I mean by that is that because there are billions of coins that have been marketed and made and sold by the US government, by miscellaneous dealers across this country and across the world, NGC and PCGS, the two largest, most active dealers in the marketplace, they trade on a computer network called CCE. It's the consistency of their grading that allows them to trade the way they do. Few coins are so hard to get that you don't even think about it. Now, I mentioned the 1874 Carson City dime. It's a $12,000 to $14,000, maybe $15,000 coin, even in low grade. Now, back in the 1970s, it was a coin that you could have probably bought for less than 40 bucks. I rounded it to 50. But literally in the guidebook, 1975 was a $45 coin. Today, 10, 12, 14,000 is the realm that you would be in. Now, I want to go back to my morning show. I mentioned the 1850 New Orleans $20 gold piece that I gave some bad information on. Today, that coin is about a $7,000 to $7,600 coin, is an extra fine 40. In AU50, the coin will start to move up to 13 to 14,000. There are a couple of them that I found online this afternoon. An AU53 goes to about 20,000, a little bit less. In AU55, the coin starts to approach $30,000. And so part of what I do is I look at other dealers' material to compare what I've got versus what they've got. And then we work something out if I want to utilize one of their coins when it's time to take one of my coins to the grading company. Now, at the time I sold the coin to the dealer, to the client that I sold it to, the transaction was $7,000. The coin back at the time that I sold it in 2010 was probably worth somewhere between $5,500 and $6,000. I sold it for $7,000, knowing that as an AU, the coin truly would carry a huge premium over what I was charging. See, this goes back to part of what I've talked about for the last week or so when I pick on my friend Joe. May not like me as much as he used to, but that's okay because he relied on his spouse, which I've never met Jody. I've talked to her a couple of times. The lady is there to back up her husband, and I understand and agree with that. However, to take an arbitrary opportunity to look at the internet and find what is and what isn't always the fair and accurate way of doing business. That's why I share the information and the stories that I do. There are coins that, when they're graded, are misgraded. Now, NGC and PCGS are consistent, but it doesn't mean for a moment that dealers have to agree with the grades. Back 10, 20 years ago, we called certain dealers crackout artists. They would pay a little too much to have the opportunity to double or triple their money if they were able to enhance the look, the value of those coins. So to pay $7,000 for a coin that's worth $6,000 to have an opportunity to make it worth $15,000, that's a no-brainer. Dealers will do that, and they do it often. I remember back in the early 90s, probably 1994, 95, somewhere in there. I remember selling a client an 1876 Carson City $20 gold piece that was in mint state 62. Now, I was still a pretty young pup. I'd only been around the industry for about 5 years back then, as a full-time uh, telemarketer, if you will. I worked for a very large company. We had a lot of people that would call into us. The company had been around for over 25 years. So I spent a lot of time reaching into the client base and talking to those people. I brought an amount of experience that few dealers were able to bring, and I was involved in other markets. And so it was, for me, an opportunity to find, quote, new clients. In explaining coins, this was a client that bought a coin that when I got to see it, it appeared so undervalued and so misgraded, I couldn't understand how it got the designation, but I immediately picked up the phone and called this client and said, my gosh, we have got a coup on our hands. This coin is easily a 63 and probably should be a 64 if not higher. Well, understand that we have something in our industry called gradeflation. It's the fact that old guys retire and go out on their own and they leave the grading companies and they start up their own companies. See, in today's market, it gets very cutthroat. Guys are trying to figure out how to make a living selling bullion and working on a half a percentage point of profit, and they've got to sell hundreds of millions of dollars worth of inventory and maintain a huge overhead. I don't mind working tight to the spread, but it's why I say in almost every podcast, and I've said it over the years, if you get a fair shot from a dealer, I'm more than happy to tell you to do business with them. It's the bad shot. It's the dealer that's marking up his inventory 150 to 500% over the fair market. Now, understand that looking at a coin and understanding what its values and what the technical aspects of it are establish value. It's not just the label rating. And that's the problem that I've had with Jody and Joe. It's the problem that a lot of people have. I can look at a coin and I can tell you what I think. And if a coin is premium quality, we call it PQ. Well, now PQ coins are graded by CAC, the green football and the gold football. And these footballs matter. It's just a small label that goes on the holder. But folks, coins are worth significantly more money when they've got that designation, when they've got that representation. It's important to understand it. Now, it's how I can look at a coin and tell you that a coin that sold 5 years ago for $148,000 in an AU58 holder, today an AU55 graded coin sells for that. And I remember being absolutely ostracized a decade ago when I sold a coin that everyone figured was worth $65,000 for $85,000. The extra 20 grand was almost 30% over what most people assumed that coin to be worth. In a year, the coin sold for $128,000. Was I too high, or was I targeting the market properly? Did I understand the supply and demand scenario? Because folks, it's supply and demand that generates a market. Most people don't understand that. And then when you get into the technical aspects of a specific coin, whether it's the toning, whether it's the strike, regardless of which statement is the most accurate, it's the simple fact that certain luster, certain toning commands the premium. So I understand people wanting to take their shot. I get it. I really do. But the truth of the matter is that you can't tell me that the $165 Morgan dollar I pointed out a week ago is a better value than the one that sold for nearly $7,000, because the one for 7 grand disappeared the same day. It was gone in less than 7 hours. The 165 The 200, the 300s, the 500s, they're all still online. They're still there. But that $7,000 coin that was priced the same grading, the same rating on the holder as the $200 coin, it's gone. So I want to be able to give you the right information. I want to point you in the right direction. There are so many different people in this industry, and people come and go, and dealers hire old salesmen and new salesmen, and guys make representations of their clients and their client base. And folks, I've never been somebody to hammer on a client. If it's a good deal, it's a good deal today, and it'll be a good deal tomorrow. Well, a really good deal doesn't last till tomorrow. Now, it's the difference between picking up that phone and hammering people, and you know the kind of guys that I'm talking about. It's the one that calls you, that wants to sell you the deal that's too good to be true. Well, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. Well, that's not always the case. And so this is an opportunity where when you've got money to work with, you work hard for it, you certainly don't want to lose it. I look at the stock market and I can tell people unequivocally that gold seems cheap at $1,200. The stock market frozen at 16,480 today, so we're right at 16.5. We've had 50 plus trading records this calendar year. Price of oil's back over $100 a barrel. I look at the currency markets. I look at the concern in people's faces when I drive around. I can tell you the spread between platinum and gold has widened a little bit more. I can tell you the premium between silver and gold has narrowed. And now you can't buy 62 ounces of silver for an ounce of gold. You can only buy 60. These are all little bitty technical issues, but they all matter. And when you hear Darden restaurants cutting Red Lobster, is it because of radiation? Is it because there's too much mercury? Is it just because it's not as profitable as it should be, or the stock value could go up even higher? There's different variables that affect everything. And I know different friends of mine, different acquaintances who own multiple types of coins and multiple qualities, because the bottom line is they are truly rare coin dealers. And I can look at a coin in anyone's inventory, and I can tell you that the coin that's got the right toning can trade from $200 to $900. I can tell you that there's half moon toning, there's total colored toning, there's obverse and reverse toning, there's rim toning. There's so many different ways, and those different variables can affect the value of a coin by as little as 20% to as much as thousands of percentage points. And so you've got to be able to work with somebody who's more than capable of giving you the information, giving you a fair and accurate representation of what you've got and what you're looking at and what you ought to be doing from there. What are the factors that are going into the consideration when you're acquiring this material? I talk about the New Orleans Mint 20 because that's a nice fresh coin. That was one that came out of the grading service yesterday afternoon. We waited a month for it just because of the amount of material that's being submitted currently. I love colonial coins. I love half cents. I love coins dated in the 1700s. I think they're really very special. And there are coins that you can buy from, say, $300, and you could spend upwards of $2,000, $3,000, $10,000. It's all about what you've got to work with and how long you want to allow the money to sit and do its job. That's the first aspect of this. But the second aspect is, do you collect by era? Are you looking for coins that are important because of the time that they were graded? Are you looking for certain types of coins because other people have bought them? I love $20 gold pieces. And it doesn't matter to me whether you're buying coins that are a few $1,000s or a few $100,000. Putting together the right material matters. And I can look at different coins, and I can give you the fundamental reasons why you should be acquiring them. The question is, do you make the acquisition? Is that really something that you want? And what is it that you're hoping to accomplish with it? That's the other aspect of this. Now, it's all those aspects that come into play when I tell people that certain coins demand and they should command the trip to CAC, or they should be, quote, resubmitted for grading. You might want to put them away and wait a decade before you do anything. But the truth of the matter is, if all you do is rely on a layperson to give you a response or give you an answer, you're doing yourself the injustice. I've sold lots of coins to a lot of different people. And putting together these portfolios, whether it's for new coins or old coins, whether it's sets of coins or the stopper coins, the key dates, there's different reasons to own different types of pieces, and I want to be able to cover all that with you. Why do you build a set of coins? Whether that's the Philadelphia set, the San Francisco set, the Carson City set, the New Orleans set, Charlotte, Dahlonega, Georgia, Philadelphia, West Point. So many different ways to go about doing this. Now, dealers who have been around for 20 or 30 years, they know what they're doing. They understand the market. For me, it's about talking to people and explaining the market to them. There's a lot of different aspects to this play, and I want you to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Ultimately, it's an asset and it's liquid, and you should keep it in a safe place. You should keep it close, whether you bury it in a vacuum-packed bag and put it 10 paces off the tree so you know where you buried it, whether you put it in a wall safe, a floor safe, behind the AC vent, under the carpeting in the closet. There's so many different ways to protect yourself in this arena that most people just don't get. Again, it's not about gloom and doom. It's about reality. I got a good customer I've known, going in back 2 churches ago. And Jim called me yesterday because when he and his wife went out, they had their house robbed. And yes, they're not people of means, but they lost their jewelry. And the wife's mother's diamond, which was not a big ring, but it was a family heirloom and something that really meant something to them. Someone kicked in the door. They stole part of the jewelry box, their coin collection, filed police reports. We're on the lookout. But you know what, folks? There's a lot of different places and a lot of different ways to fence material. Gosh knows we're chasing some of them ourselves. This is the time where you consult with people who understand the market. It's not just about a good deal. It's about understanding what other people are selling around the country and what they market and why they market it and what the trend is and why is that trend important and what's being said in the industry in the guide sheets or the other periodicals that are put out. It's not just about online shopping. Oh, it is when you go look at a dress or a pair of sunglasses and you can find it in 50 different online shopping situations. That's different. This is something that's emotional. It's important because it's your retirement, or it's the money that you're going to use for a trip 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. It might be 15 or 20 years when you want to send your kids or your grandkids to college. There's a lot of different ways of looking at the market. And ultimately, you've got to be able to realize all of those areas. Anyway, I'm at about 20 minutes, and I want to cut the show short today. If you've got questions, I would ask you to please email me. That's Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. You can call the store, 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Hit option 0. You get a live voice. If I'm around and not tied up, I'll give you a call back. If you email me, I'll respond accordingly. There's a lot of information out there, and there's billions of coins to talk about. Certain coins you want to own. Other coins I wouldn't recommend to my worst enemy. And boy, I got some enemies. But the bottom line is good information is always good. And that's what I want to share with you. Anyway, I never get off a podcast without thanking Texas Children's Hospital, the Downs Clinic, and the Ronald McDonald House. Now, the Downs Clinic is very special to me. My son Jason has very mild Downs. The Meyer Center is just south of Fannin. If you would go to themeltdown.com, click on the donation link. Your name, information, the pertinent data will be utilized to generate a receipt. The information is anonymous for me, so you don't have to worry about being chased or called because of what you did. But folks, I love the Meyer Center, and I love Dr. Ostermeyer and her staff. The Ronald McDonald House at Texas Children's is on the 4th floor. There's 20 rooms. They house between 20 and probably 60 people a night. Those people are provided meals through the Ronald McDonald House. But if you can provide a hot meal, tithe or a donation, you can call them directly at 832-824-8600. It's 832-824-8600. Nancy Allen and her staff would be more than happy to accommodate you. Please mention you heard about them from themeltdown.com. If you go onto our site, there's donation links. That information is private. There's also other informational links. So if you find our links page, you can get other information, write down notes. Over 500 shows, nearly 400 hours of audio. So you can write down questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Email me, brett@thegoldexchange.net. Other than that, have a great weekend. God bless you. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.